ẹ bá mi pè é o. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Rédíò. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo àfínjú. Lórí WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, lórí X, lórí YouTube, lórí TikTok. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Ẹ bá mi pè é o. Rédíò. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo àfínjú. Rédíò àfínjú. Rédíò àfínjú. Rédíò àfínjú.
Wherever you're listening or watching Radio Afinju, the time is 3 p.m.
Stay informed with news on Radio Afinju.
First, a look at the highlights. Abia CP reactivates radio control room for 24-hour operation. Ethiopia Defense Minister visits Somalia in sign of detente. Two dead after small plane crashes into California building. Compliments of the season and welcome to the World News on Radio Afinju. My name is Pearl Durotoye. The news in detail. The Commissioner of Police, Abia Command, Danladi Issa, has reactivated the command's radio communications office for 24-hour operation daily. The Police Public Relations Officer, Abia, Maureen Chinaka, in a statement in Umuahia, explained that the purpose was to attend to the security needs of Abia residents in 2025. She stated that the coverage of the office had been extended to all parts of the state. According to the statement, it is to ensure seamless communication as necessary equipment have been installed and outdated systems replaced. In his address to officers of the Communications Department, the Commissioner emphasized the critical role the department played in maintaining security across the state. The Deputy National Chairman of the New Nigeria People's Party, Prince Nweze Onu, has called on President Bola Tinubu to suspend the proposed tax reform bills to allow for wider consultation with stakeholders across the country. Onu made this appeal in his New Year message to Nigerians, which was released to journalists in Abuja earlier today. The appeal follows President Tinubu's recent nationwide broadcast where he declared that there would be no going back on the tax reform bills. The four proposed legislations, which have passed a second reading at the National Assembly, have drawn significant criticism in recent weeks, particularly from the 19 northern governors and other regional stakeholders. Ono insisted that such sensitive bills should not be passed unilaterally. The outgoing Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Regional Development, Shuaib Belgore, has handed over to the newly appointed Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Tinuke Wati. Belgore, while delivering his farewell speech, reflected on his tenure and the strides made in fostering sustainable regional development. In his address, he briefed the new permanent secretary on the activities of each department and expressed gratitude to the ministry staff for their unwavering support and commitment, which he credited as the cornerstone of the ministry's achievements. In a reception speech, the newly appointed permanent secretary, Wati, highlighted a vision for inclusive and impactful regional development, emphasizing collaboration and innovation as key pillars of administration. Troops of the multinational joint task force operating under Sector 3 in Mangunu have intercepted a suspected terrorist courier conveying improvised explosive device-making materials to Gubbio local government area of Borno State. A statement from the task force Chief Military Information Officer Olani Osoba said the terrorist was arrested following a combined effort of the MNJTF and the civilian JTF. According to the statement, the intercepted materials included 4 empty 12 kg cylinders, 1 empty 6 kg cylinder, 2 carburetor gas canisters, 2 pressure regulators, and a hose. It's noted that the timely interception of the courier and the recovery of the materials have disrupted a potential terrorist attack and dealt a significant blow to the operational capabilities of the terrorist group. The suspect is currently in custody and assisting with ongoing investigations. Away from Nigeria, a senior official in Mogadishu said Ethiopia's defense minister traveled to Somalia, the first bilateral visit since relations nosedived a year ago over an Ethiopian plan to build a naval base in a breakaway Somali region. Somalia State Minister for Foreign Affairs Ali Omar confirmed Aish Musa's visit to newsmen did not say what she was there to discuss. In the post on the X platform, Ethiopia's Foreign Affairs Ministry said the two countries had agreed to collaborate on the AUSAM African Union peacekeeping mission and strengthen bilateral relations. Ethiopia has up to 10,000 troops in Somalia to fight Islamist militants from Al-Shabaab, but Mogadishu has threatened to expel them if Addis Ababa did not renounce an agreement it reached a year ago with the breakaway Somaliland region. The preliminary deal called for Somaliland to lease a stretch of coastline for an Ethiopian naval base and commercial ports in exchange for possible recognition of Somaliland's independence. Tunisia's Coast Guard has recovered the bodies of 27 African migrants after 2 boats they were attempting to cross the Mediterranean in sank off the coast. Reports said the boats sank in waters off the city of Sfax, a departure point often used by African migrants. Last month, Tunisia's Coast Guard recovered the bodies of about 30 other migrants in 2 separate incidents after the boats sank while they were sailing towards Europe. The National Guard said the Coast Guard rescued 87 people who were on the same 2 boats that sank off Sfax. Tunisia is grappling with unprecedented migration crisis and has replaced Libya as the major departure point for both Tunisians and people from elsewhere in Africa seeking a better life in Europe. In Asia, after a dramatic 6-hour-long standoff with security, South Korea police have called off an attempt to arrest suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol. Local news outlet Yonhap reported that the military and Yoon Security Service officers formed a human wall and used vehicles to block the arrest team's path. Yoon is under the investigation for abusing his power and inciting an insurrection when he tried to impose martial law in early December. The move, although short-lived, led to a political crisis as Yoon was impeached by an opposition-led parliament and suspended from office. A Seoul court issued a warrant for his arrest earlier this week after he ignored 3 summons for him to appear for questioning. If they had been successful, Yoon would have become the first sitting president to be arrested in South Korea's history. Philippine Vice President Sara Duterte will no longer sit on the National Security Council after President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. signed an order removing her from office from the agency following a bitter split between the two former allies last year. Merkel said the reorganization of the National Security Council, NSC, was needed to ensure that its council members uphold and protect national security and sovereignty. The council's reorganization was also aimed at guaranteeing a resilient national security institution that was able to adapt to new challenges, according to the order, which was signed on December 30 and released today. The changes have also excluded former presidents from council membership and empowered Marcos to appoint other government officials and private citizens as needed. Sara Duterte, the daughter of former President Rodrigo Duterte, is currently facing impeachment complaints accusing her of graft, incompetence and amassing ill-gotten wealth while in office. She has denied the allegations. In the United Kingdom, police are investigating after the father of Sarah Sharif was reportedly assaulted in prison weeks after being jailed for the 10-year-old's murder. Ofan Sharif is said to have been attacked at Belmarsh prison on New Year's Day by two other inmates in a cell. Sharif reportedly suffered cuts to his neck and face, and it is understood he received medical treatment inside the prison. Sharif, 43 years old, and Sarah's stepmother were sentenced to life imprisonment after being convicted at the Old Bailey last month for killing Sarah at their home in Woking, Surrey. Belmarsh is in a Category A jail in southeast London, housing some of the UK's most dangerous prisoners. Sarah was hooded, burned and beaten during a campaign of torture that lasted 2 years before her body was found at the family home in August 2023. Ufan Sharif was sentenced to a minimum of 40 years in prison for murder, while his wife, Bainash Batul, 30, received a minimum of 33 years. Sarah's uncle, Faisal Malik, 29, was sentenced to 16 years imprisonment for causing or allowing a death. The three fled to Islamabad, Pakistan, with Sarah's 5 siblings the day before her body was found, prompting an international manhunt. They hid out there for 4 weeks before returning to the UK, where they were arrested. In Europe, the French and German foreign ministers have arrived in Damascus to meet Syria's new rulers, marking the first trip by top European Union officials to the country since the fall of former President Bashar al-Assad last month. Reports said Germany's Annalena Baerbock and France's Jean-Noël Barrot will hold talks with Syria's de facto leader Ahmed al-Sharaa, also referred to as Abu Mohammed al-Julani, in the Syrian capital today. Their visit comes as Western governments open channels with al-Sharaa's Hayat Tahrir al-Sham HTS, a group with past links to al-Qaeda that led to the rebellion against al-Assad, debating whether to remove its terrorist designation. Barrot landed first in the Syrian capital this morning, having posted on social media platform X that France and Germany stood with the Syrian people in all their diversity, voicing support for a peaceful and demanding transition in the service of the Syrians and for regional stability. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has dismissed concerns that investments by companies owned by Elon Musk could pose a threat to Italy, emphasizing that decisions are made with the nation's interests in mind. Musk's involvement in Italy's political and economic landscape has also been notable. He has openly commented on various issues, including urging Italy to address its declining birth rate and accusing Telecom Italia SPA of impeding Starlink Incorporated's high-speed internet rollout. The two leaders have discussed potential collaborations in cutting-edge cutting-edge fields like space exploration and artificial intelligence. Italy's new regulatory framework now permits foreign space companies to operate within its borders, paving the way for Musk's ventures. During the September awards ceremony, Musk praised Meloni as authentic, honest, truthful, and that can't always be said about politicians. In the Americas, officials say 2 people have died and 18 others were injured after a small plane crashed into a commercial building in Southern California. The Fullerton Police Department said in a post on X that 10 people were taken to hospital with injuries. 8 others were treated for injuries and released at the scene. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, the single-engine Van's RV-10 crashed and officials have provided no further details about how it occurred. It is unclear whether the 2 people who died were workers or were on board the plane. Police say they are evacuating buildings in the area and are asking the public to stay away from the crash site. In the Middle East, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has approved sending a delegation to Qatar to continue the Gaza hostage and ceasefire negotiations. The statement said professional level representatives from Israel's security agency ISA, the Israel Defense Forces IDF, and Israel's foreign intelligence agency known as Mossad will travel to the Qatari capital of Doha for the talks. Indirect talks between Israel and Hamas have carried on even as official negotiations have been deadlocked for months as the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden pushed for a deal to be reached. A diplomatic source familiar with the matter told reporters in December that the deal is broadly the same as the proposal put forth by Biden earlier in 2024. Now talking sports, former Bendel Insurance forward Deputy Echeta has joined Iraq League side Zako FC. Echeta becomes the latest Nigerian Premier Football League MPFL player to secure a move abroad during the 2024-2025 mid-season break. Echeta, who previously played a key role for Bendel Insurance, has been recognized as one of the standout performers for the Benin Arsenal a few years ago. In addition to his stint at Bendel Insurance, the versatile attacker has also represented Rivers United in the domestic league. Meanwhile, former Super Eagles striker Brown Ideye has expressed concern over the increasing trend of NPFL players leaving the country for lesser-known leagues. Before we go, here again are the highlights. The Commissioner of Police, Abia Command, Danladi Issa, has reactivated the command's radio communications office for 24-hour operation daily. Elsewhere, a senior official in Mogadishu said Ethiopia's defense minister traveled to Somalia, the first bilateral visit since relations nosedived a year ago over an Ethiopian plan to build a naval base in a breakaway region. In the Americas, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has approved sending a delegation to Qatar to continue the Gaza hostage and ceasefire negotiations. That was the world news on Radio Afinju. To view our channel, please follow us on Facebook, X, and YouTube at Radio Afinju. My name is Durotoye. Thanks for listening. Good afternoon.